how much he really does love us, and he cares and he strives. There's nothing like that. I'll never forget that moment. He really meant it. It's just beautiful. And so we sat there for another moment, and then his face turned a little bit more somber, a little bit more serious. And he stood up from my bed. And when he did, he turned and he put his hand down out towards me. He said, "Come, I have things to show you." And when he did, I took it. And as soon as I took it, I could feel my body immediately being sucked out of my room, out of those curtains where Jesus had originally first came from, and just right out. And when my body got sucked out, I went straight into this tunnel of light with the Lord. And the best way I could describe it, I don't know if you've ever seen if a car is going very, very fast and there's all these lights going past them. It's like that, but only they were vibrant, beautiful, different multicolored lights. And they were going so fast. I mean, just speed of light. But what I noticed is that the Lord, because he was on the left side, I turned and I looked at him. And when I did, I just noticed that matter and time bent for him, that he walked at whatever pace he wanted to walk at. And it was just such a king thing, so everything bends to him. And so he was walking just at a normal pace, and he wasn't hurried, but he had a mission. He was, there was a point to what he's doing. And so I got to be in that tunnel with him. And it felt like maybe just a couple of seconds. It was very fast, and it stopped abruptly. And when it did, I noticed we were in the sky, like very high up in the sky, and we were looking over in like an aerial view. And Jesus was on my right side, but kind of slightly back, like here. And so I turned a little bit just to see that he was there. And I at first didn't understand where I was at, because it looked like a huge castle. But at first in my mind, I didn't realize what castle it was until I looked a little bit closer and I saw a pole that had a flag. And I saw the flag, it was the British flag. And I thought, oh, I know where I'm at, And so I turned and I looked at Jesus, and I looked at him and I said, "Buckingham Palace?" And when I said, I was just surprised. And, he's just so sweet and has such a sense of humor. And he looked at me and said, "Yes," and kind of laughed at me. And then we just stood there for a minute, and I thought, wow, we're over here looking at Buckingham Palace, And then just a few minutes went by, and then he turned his head, like kind of tilted towards it. And the look on his face was a caring look that he had. And he started to speak about the Queen of England. And he said, "She misses her late husband. I have been coming to her at times to comfort her heart. She does not have much longer to live. Though she has no real power, her passing will be a sign to my friend of the changing of the guard. Things will rapidly begin to change." And when he said that, I knew that he was speaking about the changing of the guard in the sense of the church in America. It wasn't necessarily the physical, actual changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace. Of course, we know that happens, but he was referring to supernaturally and what's happening here in America and in the world, really. And he was telling me this message to give to his friend, that this would be a sign. So there are gatekeepers here in America and in the body of Christ that are going to be moved. There's things that are going to begin to happen that you may not see it with a natural eye at first, but things are rapidly happening behind the scenes. And there will be things that you will see even with your naked eye. The Lord is going to begin to start to change things for Apostle and really open doors. And I don't even know what all it entails, but it's going to be major and it's going to be rapid, just like he said. If the Lord has spoken it, it is true. It is going to happen.
See, this is amazing, and this is so important. Now, you were taken to another England, to the European continent. Now, this was not a feeling. This was not some sort of an aura or some sort of a word. Jesus Christ himself took you to England, and you were over Buckingham Palace. And I know how much that means to you, because I know growing up you were always enamored with the royal family, Princess Di, and all the trappings that go with all of that royalty. And so I know that, that was big to you. Mm-hmm. But it's so important that Jesus in February was prophesying about today, September 8th, when the Queen passed. And it signified Now tell us again, what did it signify, her passing? What did that mean? What did Jesus, this was a pivotal moment. And Jesus' own words said about Apostle Taylor.
Yes, and he said that this will be a sign of his friends. The changing of the guard will be a sign that things are going to begin to happen and change rapidly for him. And I'm excited for it. It really is going to happen. The significance of her passing, she is royalty. It's a kingdom thing. And it's by no coincidence that the Lord had brought me to that moment to tell his friend that Apostle is in God's kingdom. He is the one leading God's kingdom on this earth. You know, he is God's set man. And it's just by no coincidence that it's a queen, a royalty, their death passing, and the significance of the changing of the guard and everything that's about to happen for him. It's so symbolic. It's hard to miss. It's just real.
Yeah, well, we have heard testimony, people taken to heaven, visitations here, the Father coming down in the clouds. We've seen pictures. If you have been a part of this ministry, or perhaps you're brand new, you can go to KOGGC website and see for yourself wherever Apostle has been, the Father has come down. And it's just another sign of how God is working in the earth with Apostle Taylor to validate what God is doing in his life and really setting the stage for what is going to happen. And ever since Apostle has been in Shutaway, which is almost 3 years, and perhaps some of you don't know that, almost 3 years now, come at the end of this year, it will be 3 full years that Apostle has been in Shutaway. And ever since that has happened, ever since he went into Shutaway, so much has happened in the earth. A pandemic, calamities, weather calamities. You could be in one state and have a drought and go just the next state over and have floods. Just incredible. Inflation. It seems like the fabric of society is unraveling. A controversial election. And just so much more that is happening since Apostle has been in Shutaway. The stage is really being set for what is getting ready to happen in the earth through Apostle Taylor, because God has raised him up for this time, and Apostle has accepted that assignment in that beautiful relationship that he has. And just cannot wait to see more. Can't wait to hear more about this dream, this visitation, because there's so much more.
Yes, there is. And so then Jesus took my hand again. And when he did, we were immediately back into the tunnel with the lights. And it was fast, but still the same thing, Jesus walking at his own pace. But then it abruptly stopped again. And when it did, we were in a very large room, very tall ceilings. And I saw a very long and large ornate table. And there was a man sitting at that table, and it was the Russian President Putin. And Jesus had stepped back a few feet behind me and kind of leaned against the wall and just watched what was going on. And I could hear Putin speaking in his Russian dialect. I couldn't tell exactly what he was saying because I don't speak Russian, but I could hear other leaders of all different foreign nations. It was like a big conference call and like Zoom and different things like that. And they were all speaking in their different dialects. And while I was watching, I could tell something about it was menacing. Something about what Putin was saying that wasn't good. And then I noticed, I could feel the Lord coming a little bit closer, and I noticed he stepped up a couple of feet closer. And when he did, he started to speak about Putin. So Jesus had walked up to my side, and I was able to see him better. And he started to speak about Putin. And he said, he enjoys causing fear and confusion. He tells half-truths. He says one thing while doing the other. Tell the staff for the next 3 nights they are to pray for 30 minutes for the Ukraine and its people. I do not want my friend using his energy and strength on this. Tell them, if they are going to serve under my friend, they must speak and pray as kings. And then he took my hand one more time. And when he did, we were instantly back in that tunnel of light going past us. And then it came to an abrupt stop again. And when it did, I was in a room. And in this room there was a large bed, but it had a dark blue, maybe like a navy blue colored comforter on it. Thick, very nice. But I looked and I saw there was a man in the bed, and that man was the President of America, of the United States. And it was President Joe Biden. And he was laying there, and his wife, Jill Biden, had came walking up towards him, and she had a washcloth in her hand, and she started to press it against his forehead, just gently, as a wife would do to her, you know, taking care of her husband. And while I watched him, I don't want to say he was deathly sick or anything like that. I didn't get that feeling, but I could tell that he wasn't doing well. That what was portrayed in the media was not how he was really feeling behind closed doors. That what I was seeing right now in his room was how he really felt. That he was having to put on that act of being stronger in front of the public, but behind closed doors, he was struggling quite a bit.